Dr. Dillard, we now would like to offer a token from their university family, a painting from the artist Cynthia St. James. To you, presented to you. Thank you.
Bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
And to bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
And that finally, I shall oppose this obligation.
As has already been spoken by Dr. Cassandra Mitchell, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11. Good afternoon. Thank you to everyone who has contributed to the success of this day. Dr. Candace Harris and the Inauguration Committee, Marilyn Richards and the Host Committee. Thank you, Chairman Bell and members of the Board of Trustees for the faith and trust that you have placed in me to lead the historical Shaw University. Thank you to everyone on this platform who has brought greetings, and to fellow chancellors and presidents, institutional and organizational delegates. I am honored that you are here, and thank you for your contributions to higher education. U.S. Congressman David Price, Mayor James Robertson, Dr. Marcia Boyd, Dr. Lenny Springs, Dr. Hope Williams, thank you for your support and taking time to be here. To Dr. Dolores Brisbane and Mrs. Amy Kardash of Intrust, who were not able to be here because of a scheduling conflict. Thank you for your mentorship and support. At this time, I'd like to acknowledge some special guests present today. Dr. John Lucas, who served as interim president from 1986 to 1987. Dr. Dorothy Kauser Yancey Shaw's 14th and 16th. To serve in the role of president at this historical institution. Dr. Gladys Baldwin, interim president from 2014 to 2015. And Shaw's 17th president, Dr. Tashmi Ann DuBrois, who had to rush away along with her president to deal with what presidents and chancellors know we deal with, the crisis of the moment. They were here and had to rush away. But we wish them Godspeed and that everything works out okay. Thank you, along with our founder and former presidents, for your leadership and for paving the way for this day. To Dr. DuBrois and Dr. Yancey, I especially thank you for appointing me to the faculty more than 7 years ago. It is because of you that I commit to build on the foundation that has been laid by you, my forebears. I think Zora Neale Hurston expressed it best. The present was an egg laid by the past that had the future inside its shell. That line conveys the essence of Shaw University's 154-year journey and of my own life and journey as well. Both stories include instances of difficulty and loss, and both stories illustrate the resolve and triumph of the resilient spirit over adversity and opposition to arrive here to the present moment. A coal miner's daughter, born in Tams, West Virginia, who grew up in Mayberry, RFD. I learned resilience at an early age, under the most unlikely of circumstances. You see, my brother Paul was the apple of my family's eye, the first boy, and therefore used to being showered with much attention and stuff. As a result, he decided that he liked being an only child. So from the day I was born, he began his quest to eliminate the intruder, me. Paul did everything in his power to do away with our Uncle Gary, who's 2 weeks younger than me, and I. Through the years, Paul would do things like light a firecracker and hand it to me and say, "Hold it till I tell you what's wrong." Of course, he conveniently forgot to say the words until the firecracker had exploded in my hand. It was not until my sister Vicky came along that he finally resolved that he was not to be an only child. Fortunately for me, I survived, and my brother came to consider me his greatest ally and supporter. I am saddened that he is no longer with me, for I am sure he would have found a way to take credit for my achievement. Growing up, I didn't have a specific dream to be a college president, but I was blessed with wonderful parents, Charles and Pauline Raleigh, who made sure that my siblings and I learned to read long before we started school. Although neither had a college education, they somehow knew the transforming power of education on one's life. My parents are no longer here, but I'm honored today to have other members of my family. My sister Gracie Agnew, my aunt Sandra Davis, nieces, nephews, and cousins. And I have a special cousin here today, Norma and Joseph Robinson, who celebrated 60 years of marriage on March 30th. Along the way, I was blessed to meet and marry the love of my life, Moses Criswell Dillard Jr., musician, songwriter, producer, activist, and preacher. He too is gone, but his encouragement and support is still felt. And I have with me today his brother, my dear friend and brother-in-law, Daniel Dillard, and his wife, Janice. Moses' daughters, South Carolina State Representative Chandra Dillard and Ms. Sharonda Dillard, with whom I share his memory and am reminded of his giftedness. There are others who have formed my village and have been engaged with and supported of me simply because they chose me. My 93-year-old bonus mother, Mrs. Lily D. Bowman, who traveled here from Jackson, Tennessee to be here. Miss Ola Hudson, my mentor and whose mother embraced Moses and I when we moved to Nashville, Tennessee. Mother Hudson adopted the two of us into the family, and it has remained so ever since. My BFF, Mildred Waddle, and her husband, Ronnie Waddle. Kim and Tracy Kendall and their daughter, Laura, and their husband, Derek. Colleagues and friends, lest we be here all day, I will pause with naming names and just say again, thank you for your loving support and encouragement throughout the years, and for traveling here to be with me on this special day. William A. Carter, in his book, Shaw's Universe, referenced the speech made by Earl J. McGrath, Executive Officer of the Institute of Higher Education, delivered during the inauguration of Dr. James Cheek, 7th President of Shaw University on April 16, 1966. Please indulge me, my fellow presidents and chancellors, as I read a passage regarding that speech. It might sound familiar. He, McGrath, remarked that the chronicle of life of Shaw University epitomized the difficult role of the predominantly Negro college in American society. That Shaw, like many others of the 123 predominantly Negro colleges studied 2 years earlier, showed evidence of difficulties that made its future uncertain, if not foreboding. Further, said McGrath, if I am correct in my impressions, anyone who doubts that real progress in institutional reconstruction can be accomplished in a relatively short time should see how imaginatively and vigorously the friends and members of the Shaw community have during the past several years been meeting the problems which they have faced. Making further reference to the study of the nation's predominantly Negro colleges, McGrath observed that several prominent educators questioned whether these institutions had any remaining reason for being. This was 1966. Since they inherited the legacy of segregation, some suggested that major improvements in higher education for Negro students would result from closing many of the existing colleges and expanding opportunities in a few such centers in the southern region, and sending, hear this, and sending the most able students to other institutions of celebrated reputation elsewhere in the country, particularly in the North. In addition, they called for stiffened admissions requirements and the abandoning of all preparatory subcollegiate teaching in the few colleges that would remain principally to serve Negro youth. It should be added that a growing group of elitists sees little purpose in preserving even some of our older liberal arts colleges throughout the nation. many of which for a century or more produced men and women of real distinction and civic leadership. Indeed, from what I know of your developments, Shaw illustrates the transformation which many institutions must undertake in the coming years to keep abreast of the times. Shaw has already initiated policies and practice which others will eventually find it necessary to follow as you enter your second century. I envision 4 essential services for Shaw and similar institutions. 1, continue to admit students with a diverse range of talents, interests, and vocational goals. Continue to rectify the shortcomings of students' previous education. Expand occupational programs and strengthen the essential core of liberal studies, which constitute the intellectual and moral basis for Western culture. And 4th, increase community services. And Dr. James Cheek's response to that address. Shaw University cannot justify its continuance nor press her claim upon the future on the basis of its antiquity or longevity. We have a role to play in the larger future to which our nation looks with hope, only on the basis of our ability to provide education of unimpeachable quality to those whom we admit to learn, and on the basis of our willingness to provide truly beneficent services to the society whose support we seek to cultivate. The challenge then, to educate our youth for their global responsibilities, and in so doing, to raise both our sights and our standards. And this has been accepted by us as the only alternative for survival. We do not propose to provide solutions to all the problems of which our age and time has produced. We have sought to appraise our problems with candor and to address our strengths with prudence. And while our resources and our purpose limit the range of services we can provide, we have determined to establish here a small but vital beachhead in mankind's continuing effort to conquer ignorance, to banish fear, to overcome poverty, and to secure the right of all people to make maximum use of the capabilities in preparing for maximum service. In the years ahead, Shaw University and its companion schools must be made full partners in man's most noble venture, the development of the human mind. I cite this passage to illustrate that the debate regarding the relevancy of HBCUs did not just begin, nor have the challenges or the resources in relation to our mission. The 17 presidents who were my predecessors all faced some trials during their tenure, and each was an example of that spirit of resilience in their own time. Not just Henry Martin Tupper, who founded an institution of higher education for newly freed slaves in the heart of the former Confederacy. William Strasser had extremely meager budgets and still made sure students were fed and housed. Dr. Talbot O'Shaw faced cash flow concerns, yet his presidency marked a period of stability and growth for the university. Dr. Dorothy Cowser Yancey navigated the Obama-era change in the Parent Plus loan policy by the federal government that hit Shaw parents very hard and significantly impacted enrollment. She also miraculously restructured debt that almost brought the university to the brink. and successfully navigated the university's 10-year accreditation reaffirmation by the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools Commission on Colleges. Dr. Irma McLaren led Shaw through a painful recovery after the April 16, 2011 tornado caused extensive damage to our campus. Dr. Tashmian DeBroy ushered in, "This is epic," the mantra that still defines much of who we are and what we do. Entrepreneurial thinking and excellence, place in community, innovation, and customer care. Just as each former president added to the structure left by the one who served before, I stand before you today prepared to make my contribution to Shaw University's 154-year legacy, a legacy that was built through resilience. Up until my senior year, my educational experience was strictly in segregated schools. When integration of public schools was enforced during my final year of high school, I suddenly was thrust into a world of new experiences, some positive and some not so positive. I used those experiences as the impetus to succeed, and went on to be a first-generation college graduate and to earn multiple advanced degrees from 3 HBCUs. Beginning my career as a bench scientist, I ascended quickly to the ranks of management, becoming a vice president and general manager at a time when there were very few women senior executives and even fewer women of color at that level. Of course, along with my achievements, there have been sacrifice and loss, both professionally and personally. You can only imagine what it was like to make my way to the top of a field with few role models or mentors to guide and support. I had to say goodbye to both my parents and my husband. My abiding faith in God's enabling grace and the values that my family instilled have sustained me throughout my life and career. Resilience has enabled me to be successful and to help others succeed, and it empowers me still as I assume this position of leadership. The standard definition of resilience is the capacity of an individual or entity to recover from difficulties. I would take that further to say it is having the ability in the face of obstacles and hardships to make a way through it all and emerge better than before. Shaw's enduring legacy is that the university has always come through trials with new strengths, new insights, and new resolution, able to make what is available, able to take what is available and turn it into exactly what is needed for the time and the circumstances. My story and the story of Shaw University have now converged, I believe, for just such a time as this. Today, Shaw University finds itself well-positioned to seize the virtually unlimited opportunities that surround us and to build the thriving future we envision. We will make that happen by building on our successes, taking those programs in which we already are strong and making them even stronger with more advanced or specialized offerings. We have identified segments of the job market with the greatest projected demand for a diverse pool of trained and highly qualified talent over the next decade. Likewise, we have identified key programs at which Shaw is already strong and match those to job segments. Shaw University sits on 27 acres in the core of downtown Raleigh, which according to Raleigh.gov in 2018 was the fourth fastest city for internet speeds in the United States. Number 2 in the 10 best cities to live in right now. Number 2 on latest Forbes list for business and careers. Students, top 10 best cities for new grads starting out. 3rd best in quality of life in the world. 1 of 10 cities primed for economic growth and opportunity. Surrounded by opportunity. The North Carolina Department of Commerce Labor and Economic Analysis Division list of the 2019 North Carolina 5-star jobs, which represent occupations with the greatest projected employment potential through 2026, requiring a bachelor's degree. And that list includes software developers, applications, market research analysts, and marketing specialists, financial managers, general and operations managers, personal financial advisors, accountants and auditors, management analysts, computer system analysts. Shaw will create centers of excellence in selected fields that will position us to forge closer relationships with business and industry to meet their demand for a workforce pipeline and fill critical job skill gaps, coupled with Shaw's ability to supply graduates who are well trained in their fields and prepared to perform highly in a workplace that increasingly demands workers who are critical, flexible thinkers. Shaw will establish advisory committees comprised of business and industry leaders to ensure alignment of curriculum with needed job skills. Student housing to enable learning to extend beyond the classroom, and ultimately a designated building to host centers of excellence. The Shaw University Divinity School is the core of who Shaw University is from its inception, and is now charged with the spiritual and ethical development of our students, and just as importantly, the civic and social justice conscience for community. While I have described all of the wonderful attributes of Raleigh, there is another side to the story. According to the United Way of the Greater Triangle, Raleigh is ranked number 88 out of 100 largest cities nationwide in distressed communities. The area of greatest poverty is located within Southeast Raleigh, with nearly 10,000 people facing low educational attainment, high unemployment, and staggering poverty levels. It is well recognized that the people who live and work in the area are best suited to develop solutions to address these ills. Shaw's place in community also includes Southeast Raleigh. Shaw University's motto, Pro Christo et Humanitate, for Christ and humanity, is best exemplified by the epitaph of our founder, Dr. Henry Martin Tupper. I count my life not dear unto myself, that I might lift my brother God. To seize upon these incredible opportunities will require, number one, as Trustee Sewell said, a robust endowment of the magnitude of that enjoyed by Hampton, Howard, and Spelman. Highly rigorous academic programs, recruitment and retention of world-class faculty, and world-class facilities with progressive technology. We will continue to strive to achieve the institutional priorities identified in the EPIC 2020 strategic plan that identified 6 institutional priorities: enhance infrastructure, optimize business and academic processes, improve student retention, time to graduation and career readiness, develop strategic local and global partnerships, create diversified revenue streams, and increase brand identity and market presence. Each of these priorities will be dependent upon full participation from stakeholders at all levels of the university community. These priorities require creativity and commitment in the face of declining resources and a changing landscape in higher education. We believe that every student deserves access to opportunities that will lead them to a brighter future. We will work together to realize this vision. Trustees, administration, faculty, staff, students, alumni, and friends, thank you.
This has been another edition of What's Up at Shaw U. Thank you for joining us.